Welcome everybody, it's Tellum, and in this video we are going to be talking about if Kevin Smith is a slasher or not. Now, keep in mind I said slasher, no super slasher or anything like that. I am just talking about the slasher specifically inside this video. So we're going to be talking about the two sides of the different arguments or different ideas for each side. We're going to talk about for if he is a slasher and if he isn't, and then we'll of course talk about what I think about it and why I think which side is right. But anyways, first let's actually start with the reasoning that he is the slasher, and this is mainly built off of one quote specifically, at least to my knowledge, and what it is this quote that we get from his friend Jay, and of course I'll play that quote for you guys and then we will come right back.
Kevin turned into the fucking slasher? I tried running him, but he caught up to me. Whatever he had become, he wasn't Kevin anymore. He wasn't in there. Behind that mask, the pain was real. This was no movie, no dream. And I was dying. Everything flashed before me in an instant. My wife, my daughter.
So as we heard right at the start of that quote, we heard Jay say that Kevin is the slasher, and that's why people like to say, oh yes, he is a slasher. Jay just said for herself, so that must mean that Kevin is the slasher. Now, I do understand why people go and say that, but there's actually a problem with this, because if you actually play the map and hear from Kevin Smith, he doesn't actually know he killed his friend Jay. So the idea, and of course, if you're following logic, that means that Kevin Smith must not be able to remember when he is the slasher, because if he did, then he would have to remember he killed his friend. But the thing is, he doesn't. Of course, he could be lying, but it doesn't really seem like he would lie, or he really doesn't have a reason to lie unless he's evil when we don't know, and it just doesn't make sense for him to lie. Let's just leave it at that. But there's actually a huge problem with this, and this is why people like to say that he's not the slasher, and it's because the pure fact is that Kevin Smith is aware a slasher exists, and this is a problem because when you actually, I believe you get this quote when you're talking with Poindexter to Kevin, he actually warns Poindexter of the slasher. So according to the logic we just heard before, that Kevin Smith must not be able to know that he is a slasher when he is a slasher, thus that he can't actually have knowledge of the slasher in the first place. But unfortunately that is not the case, and he's actually aware of a slasher's existence because he warned Poindexter of him. So like I said, the only way to get out of this is that if Kevin Smith is lying, but we have no real reason to believe he is lying. So what I'd like to say is that Kevin Smith is not the slasher. Now, you might say, well, yeah, well, you could still think like that, but he must be lying because we just heard his friend Jay say that he killed him. But the thing is, I don't believe he's a slasher. Remember, I made this very specific at the start of the video that we are talking about the slasher, not any super slasher or anything like this. Now, I really do believe Kevin Smith is the super slasher, and this is the reason why, is because if you start doing the boss fight to the Easter egg, we see Kevin fall in the water and then super slasher jumps out. Of course, you go and fight him, but the thing is, when you actually go back up to the cabin where Kevin Smith normally is, he is no longer there. But if you kill the normal slasher, which there are multiple of them, then Kevin Smith will still be there. But like I said, when you kill the super slasher, he's no longer there. So what I'm saying is that Kevin Smith is not the slasher. He is most likely the super slasher. Now, I do understand why people can get annoyed with that, but it's just a problem people have been questioning, and I'm not too sure if they actually meant slasher, but maybe they did actually mean that they were saying Kevin Smith wasn't the super slasher, which actually would make a lot of sense with my video talking about Kevin Smith actually being alive in the future, because I made a video talking about Kevin Smith being a time traveler, and it's very interesting. I recommend go watching it. But the main thing you have to grasp for now is that Kevin Smith actually somehow survived to reach the end to go fight Willard Wyler. So somehow he is still alive. So what they're suggesting is that Kevin Smith is not even the super slasher, but my problem with that, he just went inside the water and somehow survived and swam off somewhere, I guess, and the super slasher just happened to be there too. Now, I guess that could make sense, but I still have a huge problem with this, and this is purely because of the quote from Jay, and it's a quote we heard at the start of this video. We heard for a fact that Jay saw him transform into the slasher. He knows that Kevin was a slasher, probably the super slasher, and he killed him. So that's all I'm going to say for now. Just saying that it doesn't make sense for Kevin to be the slasher, and it also doesn't make sense for Kevin not to be the super slasher. So just to make this as clear as possible, I am saying that Kevin Smith is not the slasher. That is something else entirely. I'm not too sure what it is or who it is in the first place. It just is really confusing, but I am almost positive that Kevin Smith is the super slasher because we just have no reason to believe he is not. Besides the fact that his body somehow turned into a normal human to the size of Mount Everest. But besides that, it's perfectly fine. But anyways, tell me what you guys think about this video. If I did make any mistakes anywhere, go ahead and tell me down in the comments, or any of your thoughts or anything like that. Just leave those all down in the comments. But if you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead and thumbs up. If you guys want to stay tuned for content similar to this, go ahead and subscribe. But I'm going to go, and I will catch you guys on my next video.